Good morning. This is Dr. McDaniel, GYN Corner. I'm a board-certified obstetrician gynecologist in Midtown Manhattan, and I'm bringing to you all things health-related for women. This is Dr. McDaniel, and I'm coming from Penn Station in New York. It's actually evening. I'm taping this for tomorrow morning. I try to release the presentations in the morning. It's evening right now. I had to rush out of the office. It's running late. I want to catch my train, but I wanted to make sure I had something taped so I could post it in the morning. So here I am at Penn Station, and it's going to be broken up a little bit because once they call for my train, I'm going to have to go down to the platform to get on the train. So hopefully it won't be too disruptive. But today I thought I'd speak about something a little bit different than what I usually speak about. It's just straight all GYN things, women, and here's the platform. Women and vitamin supplementation. So today I'm speaking about colorectal screening. Colorectal screening. So I think most people, well, I would assume, but most people actually don't know. A lot of people are aware that everyone is supposed to be screened for colon cancer if they're over 50 years old. Now, that's been the scenario for years. So, one colonoscopy between 50 and 55 years old to help screen for potential precancer, cancer of the colon, and to assess the risk factors for those eventual potential problems. The colonoscopy is an evaluation on the large intestine, which is the colon, and it's with a camera. So in medicine, whenever we say scopy, that means we're looking, which always means it's a camera. Well, I shouldn't say always. Always means that we're looking either with the magnifying glass or the camera. And then the colon is where the evaluation is taking place. Now, for years and years and years, for over 40 years, the recommendation has been one colonoscopy between 50 and 55. And then depending on what's found, risk factors, family history, blah, 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 the frequency of how often the screening is done varies. It could be a year. On average, it's usually about 5 years, occasionally 7 years. Every once in a while, it's 10. But around 3 years ago, the Experts That Be for America Board of Gastroenterology, the recommendation for the age range, one colonoscopy between 50 and 55, decreased to 45 and 50. So it's one colonoscopy to screen for colon cancer between 45 and 50. A couple of years ago, the FDA approved a secondary test, which is not as good as the colonoscopy, because in great hands, great visualization, great anatomy, colonoscopy is almost 100%. But that's not always the case. A secondary screening, which is not supposed to take the place of the colonoscopy, but is almost as good as a colonoscopy, can be done at home. And that screening is called a COLOGARD. It's by a company called Exact Sciences Corporation. Now, I'm not getting any remuneration from this company. I don't get paid for promoting it. It's just I have a lot of patients who don't want to do the colonoscopy. Most people, I'm going to say 97% plus people, do have anesthesia for the colonoscopy. It's not general anesthesia, it's IV sedation. But they do have anesthesia, and it's just the whole worry issue, the fear factor, and then it's not always in the best hands. So sometimes the patients don't do the prep very well with colonoscopy. You have to take liquids to really clean out your intestines. So liquids to give you diarrhea, basically, to clean out the intestines as well as possible, because obviously if there's still stool on the intestinal wall, the GI doctor's not going to be able to evaluate it very well. And then if your anatomy is a little bit off, if you have maybe bands of scar tissue, there's going to be angles and hooks and crannies that they're not necessarily or not always going to be able to move around. So sometimes there's restrictions in how far up the large colon they can actually get. And depending on the GI doctor, not all of them, I mean, as with anything, not everybody's going to be great at the same type of activity or procedure, so some of them are better than others. So with all of those caveats, potential pitfalls, there is another option. That's the COLOGARD. The COLOGARD is an at-home test where you collect a stool sample. There's a big list of instructions. You collect the stool sample, and it looks for genetic material that indicates abnormal tissue changes. So it's looking for basically DNA. We're going to be moving into the tunnel, so unfortunately it's only been 5 minutes, but I'm going to stop it right there. It's called COLOGARD. I'm going to come back on the next presentation with the details. But the COLOGARD has a very high sensitivity and specificity. It has a 92% sensitivity, so that means 92% of the time when someone has a problem, it picks it up, and 87% of the time when it says there's a specific problem, it's correct that that specific problem occurs. So I'll be back on the next presentation to give more details about the COLOGARD, which is a good option for people who can't or don't want to do a colonoscopy. Thank you.